Well, how much is all of this media and technology interrupting your life? We've talked about it a lot here on the morning show in various levels, and today our special guest, Mitchell Kalpakgian. He's an author of several books, The Virtues We Need Again, 21 Life Lessons from the Great Books of the West. He's also a college professor, and we're here to talk about that today. Mitchell, nice to have you, friend. Where are you?
Well, thank you for the invitation to be on your program. I am in Warner, New Hampshire, northern New England.
Well, nice to have you with us today. Hot and sweaty back there?
Oh, yes. We've had 90 degrees all week and high humidity, but we have beautiful lakes nearby. So the afternoons are spent swimming in the lakes. Well,
listen, you've touched on a real nerve. We talk about this a lot, about how much media is interrupting our lives and how addicting it can become. Why have you taken this topic on?
Well, as a teacher, my work in dealing with high school age students and college students is to develop their minds, that is, to cultivate their imaginations. And one of the best methods of developing the intelligence and getting students to think deeply about things and getting them to understand the human condition and human nature is by way of literature. Right. But as you just said in your introduction, there are all of these obstacles that inhibit and discourage the habit of reading. So as a teacher of literature, I always try to get students to realize that there is a wealth of wisdom and illumination in literature that cannot possibly be found in films or videos or anything that comes under the media.
Well, you know, it's interesting because some will argue, well, films is the new book and media is the new teacher. And I understand exactly what you're saying, because we have become addicted. It's creating a whole new lexicon on its own, the way we write, think, and speak. And we are not reading books, which is a real shame.
Oh, absolutely. That's a good description of the situation in the modern world. But no film can ever be the book, because a book cultivates a certain way of thinking that can be called contemplative. That is, when you read a book, you read it, hopefully, in a state of leisure and recollection and relaxation, and you are receptive. That is, you are receptive to thoughts, feelings. You're listening in a state of quiet. You're listening to what your heart is telling you, you're listening to what your conscience is telling you, and you're not being rushed. You see, the whole nature of technology and the media is this frenetic pace in which all this information, all these images, all these sound bites are rushed past the human mind so that you can't really contemplate anything. You can't reflect upon it. Your mind is in somewhat of a whirl. So reading of good literature is irreplaceable, because also literature offers something that cannot be found in media. It offers wisdom. That is, yes, technology.
What about imagination? It appears to me that the movie is taking our ability to be imaginative away, because it's doing it for us. You know, it's creating the image for us. Where we're reading, you create your own image in your own mind.
Exactly. That's the imagination is sometimes called the memory. The two are very easily related. The imagination is the ability to make present what is absent. That is, if we use our memories, we conjure up a picture of the past that no longer is before us. But it's something that is real, and it's a faculty of the mind to make use of the imagination. And likewise, the imagination is the ability to make present the things that haven't happened yet. For example, if I said to students, imagine yourself 20 years from now, where are you? What are you doing? You say, you have to make pictures. You have to somehow have something in your mind that you have generated rather than something being forced before your eyes or thrust through your ears. So the imagination is the way that we play with our minds. You see, we play with our mind just as we play sports with our bodies. We play with our bodies when we dance or do gymnastics or when children are at a playground. But we also need to remember that our minds are playful, creative, imaginative, inventive.
You know, what seems to have fallen through the cracks here, Mitchell, and I really get your argument loud and clear, because we're in the media business and we're trying to figure out how to effectively communicate, but a couple things come to mind. First of all, attention span is gone.
Yes.
Secondly, it seems that innocence and virtue is gone. That all of this technology has robbed us of our virtue and our innocence. Everything is explicit now. It just doesn't seem like nothing is not exposed anymore.
Well, that is, of course, a problem, and it's a problem that shows a total disrespect for children in particular. That is, you're quite right. The media has this kind of overload exposure, the saturation in pictures and images. It provides a great deal of sexual content. It makes pornography accessible. But it is an attack upon the innocence of children, as if somehow they're not entitled to this period of life that we call the time of enchantment, the time of just being able to play and be in touch with the goodness of life without the burdens of adult responsibilities. The media violates this barrier that has always protected children from the vileness and sordidness of the world.
Yeah, that is well said. What literary classics do you cover in your book that you think we ought to go back to and pick up?
Well, the book is organized in such a way that every chapter deals with a particular virtue, and each chapter uses classic works of literature to illustrate and illuminate the nature of that virtue. For example, the virtue of playfulness or lightheartedness or mirth. I use a children's book at the back of The North Wind to illustrate that precious quality that you just alluded to a moment ago. Playfulness, that's one of the chapters. There's another chapter on the virtue of humility, in which I provide explanation and illustration of this virtue using primarily the folk tales of the Grimm brothers and Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales. The virtue of simplicity. I use another children's classic by Howard Pyle called The Wonder Clock, in which it's not a book that's very well known, but the book has this format of a clock. There are 12 hours, 24 hours in the course of the day, and each hour describes a particular pleasure of the day in ordinary life, whether it's the quietness of the night, or whether it's the pies cooking in the oven, or whether it's the children romping outside. You see, so every chapter deals with a particular virtue. There's a chapter called The Virtue of Obedience that is based on, in which I use the marriage at Cana of Galilee to illustrate this virtue, where Christ says, the Holy Mother says to the people at the wedding feast, do whatever he tells you. Go and fill the jars and see what happens. Just do whatever he tells you. So each chapter deals with a particular virtue that is, the virtue is not abstract. It's a virtue that you can hear, see, smell, recognize, you see? And that's what literature does. It makes these virtues living. It makes them attractive. It makes them beautiful.
Oh, it's wonderful. The book is entitled The Virtues We Need Again, and check it out at the bookstores or online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and get a copy of it. He's making some great illustrations here. Mitchell, I'm fascinated with your research and your work. I'd love to have you back, because I think you've touched a real nerve here. We just got to get back to good literature. We got to get back to reading. We got to slow down and enjoy life again and get our attention span back.
Absolutely. We need to make the habit of reading a normal activity. It used to be a normal activity.
Yeah.
Children used to go to the libraries. Parents used to read to their children.
Right.
People used to use the summer as a wonderful opportunity to read the books that they've been anticipating.
Well, let's stay in touch, okay?
Yes, sir.
And thank you. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate the invitation. My pleasure.
Okay. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.